Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good everything. You know how we do it on the show. How are you doing? I'm doing real good. We come into this space. That's how we say it. We come into this space to lean on one another's experience and to do what? Forge a positive path. That is what the Word Cafe Live Show is all about. And it's been amazing. Each time I sit here and know that you are there listening, oh my, it means the world to me. What are we going to be doing today? Yes, you are seeing it on the screen, but I'm going to, say one or two things about it. Leading from your core. Leadership is one thing that we cannot, undeniably, we cannot run away from if we must make our lives useful and purposeful, like uh the great name in the leadership space, global, I mean in the globe today, the way he says it, leadership as in everything rises and falls on leadership. Yes, enough. I have someone today, his name is Obi Apuche. Yes, Obi, I like the way that name sounds. He is all about operating from your core. Let me not bore you so much with all the story. I'm going to bring him on now, and he's going to tell us about himself and why he chose this word, core. Okay, where is he? And there he is.
Hey, Max.
How are you doing, Obi? Good to
Very
have you.
well,
Good to
thank
have you on
you.
the show.
Thank you. Thank you for
Beautiful.
having me. Thank
Before I brought you on, beautiful. Before I had you on, we're talking about the weather, and I was asking. By the way, Obi is somewhere in the UK, which is known for rain, but I want to believe the place is not raining. By I mean, now as we speak, I guess you have a lot of sunshine.
Yes, yeah, we've had some incredible sunshine. Actually, my parents-in-law are in town from Lagos. And since they've been
Okay.
around, probably even just before, we've had the temperatures around 32 degrees. In UK terms, that's been a heat wave, unlike Niger. So we are enjoying some fantastic weather.
Oh, beautiful. Well, back home in Nigeria, it's raining. And at the city, at the center of the country, that's Abuja. It's been raining since on Monday. It's been raining and raining, and it's like, come on, we know it's the season, but come on, give us a break now. Just give us, cut us some slack. You know, it's been raining, as in raining. But well, it's one of those things at this time of the year back, here in Nigeria. Good to have you on the show. So,
Thank
who
you.
is Obi Apuche? Let's start from there. Who is Obi Apuche? How do you describe yourself? Is it
That is
Abuchi? Like, that's the
Abuchi.
right pronunciation. Thank
It
you.
is Abuchi. That is a great question. I It's always interesting when someone asks you that question. You figure out, where do you
Hmm.
start from? So,
Mm.
how about I start from this? So my parents are obviously Nigerian.
Hmm.
My father is from Anambra State, or was from Anambra State. He's passed on now. My
Oh,
mother was from, she'd say, various places, from Rivers, Calabar, Sierra Leone. So a bit of a
mm.
combination. Grew up uh,
Africa runs through her more or less.
exactly, exactly, exactly. And I was born here in the UK, and then we moved back to Nigeria when I was 7 and lived there for 10 years. So I had
Okay.
my formative years, finished primary school,
Hmm.
all of secondary school in Nigeria, and then came back here to the UK. But
All right.
I'll tell you a bit of a story about something that happened on the way to Nigeria, which really sets up a
Yes.
lot of what I do now. So
Beautiful.
we went back to Nigeria by ship. They didn't want us. They wanted us to have a holiday out of it, so it took 2 weeks. We went back by ship, and then while during that trip, we watched a film called Return to Eden, and that film was set in Australia, and the main character, Stephanie Harper, she was married to this washed out tennis player who was only interested in her for her money. And he threw her early on in the film, he threw her into this crocodile infested swamp and almost left her for dead. And some guy comes, shoots the crocodile, helps patch her up a bit, and then sends her off to a clinic to get some help. And then a doctor at the clinic performs plastic surgery on her and transforms her into this confident woman. And at the end, she gets revenge. But as a 7-year-old, I was watching this and I looked at the doctor and said what the doctor did. And I thought, I want to do what he did, because the doctor brought out the best in this lady. And that really has been a foundational purpose for me, and influenced a lot of what I've done professionally, just wanting to bring out the best in people. But that was as a result of that trip to Nigeria at 7, watching this film and being inspired by something that I had seen at a young age. So I'm also married. I've got 3 wonderful boys. I'm Igbo, my wife is Yoruba. So a bit of a connection there. And
did you say your wife is? Did you say your wife is Yoruba?
She's Yoruba, yes. Yes, she is.
And you are Igbo.
And I'm Igbo. Yes, yes.
Don't worry. Let me not go further than that. That's a miracle. That's a miracle. It's a miracle.
So yeah, we that's a bit of my story to get things started.
And as you were talking about the movie coming back to Nigeria and all that, and what came to me was, so what I see standing in front of me and speaking today was all about, I mean, he got it all about coming back home to Nigeria. So there's something back home, actually.
Oh, for sure. Right.
Good.
For sure.
Good.
I mean, at the time, right, when I was 7, I'll be honest, I wasn't interested in being back in Nigeria, but hindsight is a wonderful thing. And I look back and I think there were so many things that I gained as an individual, the sense of community, respect, a sense of family, the resourcefulness. There were just so many things that I gained from my time there that wouldn't have been part of my character or even how I see the world if not for that. Well, the trip back to Nigeria and also being there for 10 years.
Beautiful. So tell us a little bit about your professional life, as in, how did you find the movie set you on that path? So how did you go about that? How did you, the journey of getting to this point of now being in that same position like the doctor to help people, bring out the best from them?
Yeah. So because of that movie, for a long time, I thought that the way I was going to do it was to be a doctor. So for 11 years, I was set on being a doctor, and then came back to the UK and applied to various medical schools, and including Cambridge, King's College, St. George's. And they all said, or the feedback I got was, Obi isn't interested in science. And I was shocked, all right? I was livid, because I thought, what do you mean? For 11 years, this has been my dream. This has been my vision.
Yeah.
And yet it took me a little bit of time, but I realized they were right. And because I wasn't interested in science, I was interested in people. So I wouldn't have been one of those doctors who'd have been excited about, hey, what's the latest medicine and
Mm.
let's look at these bones. I wanted to talk to people. I wanted to engage with them. I wanted to bring out the best in them. So, but at the time, I didn't realize what else it could be other than being a doctor. Now, I was fortunate enough when I was
Mm-hmm.
18, a mentor of mine gave me a copy of Stephen Covey's book, Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. And that then
Yeah.
was amazing for me. I remember making loads of notes and doing pretty much all of the exercises in the book. And it really taught me, I wasn't thinking about leadership at the time. I wasn't in
Mm.
a leadership role, but it got me focused on the importance of developing self, the importance of growing myself, that if I was going to be in a
Yeah.
position of influence, that it was really important that I was mastering me first before trying to master people
Mm-hmm.
around you. Now, again, I wasn't necessarily
Yeah.
thinking about core at the time, but I
Mm-hmm.
worked in various roles, worked with lots of leaders, and I just saw this fact that leaders have an incredible amount of influence on the effectiveness and the energy and the motivation of people. And so I knew, well,
Mm-hmm.
if I want to play a role in helping bring out the best in people, then developing leaders who are influencing people is the route that I want to go down. And so I ended up going into coaching, NLP, practitioner, consulting, and that's really been my focus for the last two decades. I've worked with some great organizations around the world, developing
Yeah.
leadership programs for
Yeah.
almost 70,000 leaders across the world. And now I run my own leadership and coaching business focused on
Beautiful.
helping leaders
Beautiful.
develop their leadership from the inside out.
Beautiful. I mean, you've been in this space quite a while, and obviously, I mean, you've gathered what I say huge amount of experience. So, for this period you've been within this space, what has it been like your experience? Can you, because I believe firsthand you've been dealing with leaders. You know, when I was going through your profile, I saw you've even worked with Shell, I think, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and all that. So what has, share with us real firsthand experience on dealing with leaders and taking them from point A to point B, and you know, onto that point where they become so confident and impacting their own sphere, I mean, society, as the case may be.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I'll share one of my first stories of working with a senior leader, because that gives you a bit of an insight into the challenge I felt needed to be addressed. So this was
Mm,
very early on after graduating. I was on a graduate training scheme and working very closely. I was fortunate enough to shadow the managing director of our sister company. And this guy
mm,
was super intelligent, really smart, knew his stuff, but he had this reputation for just shouting at people and had a terrible temper, and everyone
temper.
was afraid of him. And I noticed that when there were meetings, people wouldn't speak their mind. They wouldn't be honest about what they're really thinking because they didn't want to be shut down. And these are senior leaders. And I'm just
Mm,
thinking, something isn't right. Clearly, there's a shadow that this individual is casting on
mm,
people around him that is limiting their impact. And so when I then got into coaching and NLP practitioner and training, a big focus of the leadership development programs that I was working on is helping leaders grow in their awareness. And so I
mm,
have seen leaders really have that incredible shift in, rather than focusing on trying to quash people, now they're thinking, how do I bring out the best in them? How do I get in touch with my own vulnerability as a leader to make sure that I'm being honest and open with my teams so that they feel
mm,
honest and open themselves and able to bring the best of what they are doing and who they are and their motivation to work. And the big shift I see is I divide leadership into three areas, right? So there's the strategic. Where are we going as an organization? What's our purpose? What's our vision? Do we have the right governance in place? And that tends to be, varying levels of maturity within organizations. Then the second level of leadership is the operational. How do we operationalize the vision? And sometimes leaders operationalize that vision by going for the command and control style or a more enabling style. And then the weakest area is the third area that I see, which is the personal leadership. Is how do I make sure I'm putting my oxygen mask on first so that I can be at my best for my people. And the leaders who really get the second and third one right are the leaders who have mastered the self and really know how to look after themselves, know how to down tools when they need to, get the support when they need to, know what they stand for. Those are the ones that I've seen really do well in the second and third categories of the operational and the strategic leadership.
Now, you know, the world is going through such a trying time, like so many industries are grappling. There's this change that is so apparent after the COVID pandemic. So the VUCA world is becoming, should I say, the reality that we live with every day. From where you stand, what is the best approach to all of this now?
So I love the fact that you talked about VUCA. And yes, so the world we're living in, it is volatile, it is uncertain, it is complex, it is ambiguous. The reality is, if you go back 100 years, 200 years, people would be saying the same thing, right? I mean, yes, the technology is different, but that VUCA reality has been around for a long time. And what I see with leaders, and a big focus for me, is you can do one of two things. You can be so focused on the externals as a leader. Hey, what's going on in our market? What are our competitors doing? How's the inflation rate? What's going on there?
Yeah.
So many leaders are so focused on that they don't pay attention to the VUCA within. How am I feeling? What's my sense of purpose? How resilient am I? How clear am I about my sense of direction? How clear am I about my personal vision? And so I'm just a really big believer that the you can't manage the VUCA externally. That is always going to be what it's going to be, right? But no one knew COVID was coming. No one knows who the next, where the next unicorn's going to come from. You can respond to some of those things, but what you can do is every single day get up and think, okay, what's my sense? What's my purpose? How am I going to show up? What are the habits that I'm going to develop that help me respond as positively as I can to whatever situation I'm facing? I can plan, but no plan, there's a saying, no plan survives contact with the enemy. It's like you never know what life is going to throw your way. And so as a leader, the real thing you want to manage isn't everything around you, it's managing yourself. And that's really what's at the heart of leading from your core.
Beautiful. No. Listening to you now, what I hear is the serenity prayer. I don't know if you've come across the serenity
I
prayer.
know that. Yeah.
So it's like, excuse me, I have to deal with myself first of all.
Absolutely.
Let me deal with me. If I can handle me, then every other thing will fall into place.
Absolutely.
Now let's talk a little bit about your book, Operating from Your Core. That's the title of the book. Am I correct?
Leading from your core. Yeah.
Leading from your core. So now, somehow I tell my friends, my audience, people I interact with, that the minute somebody writes a book, he becomes an authority. And they all laugh. I say, well, I said, yes, because he's now an author. For him to have authored something, he has an authority, so, which we can make a reference to. So,
Sure. I love that.
so, so tell us, what drove you into writing that book and your experience? I mean, putting down those thoughts together.
Sure. Well, so this is my third book. My first book was The Magic of Monday, and there's a
Mm,
story between my
about that.
first and my third book, because
Okay.
my first book, The Magic of Monday, it was written for young professionals, helping them to have an amazing career by really focusing on understanding their strengths and understanding that sense of purpose. A lot of people say, thank God it's Friday, which means they're
Mm.
only living for the weekend. And I say there's so much magic that can happen Monday through Friday when you're
I,
really in
I
touch with your
I like
purpose,
that topic, the magic of
right?
Monday.
So,
I'm going to put it down. The magic of Monday.
thank you.
Thank
And
God it's
so
Friday. But I'll say it this
I
way.
know. Hey,
Thank God it's Friday. But hello, the magic of Monday.
I know. Yeah. And hey, by the way, I'm excited about Fridays and the weekend, but I'm also excited about Monday through Friday because
Exactly.
there's a lot of magic that we get
There's
to
a
do.
lot of
But
yeah.
in the book, so I wrote that book in the form of a fable, and the main character in that book was Josh, who was going on this career journey and encountered a number of mentors along the way. Anyway, my mum was a massive fan, probably my biggest fan of that book, and she'd give that book to everybody. If she could give it to a
Mm,
toddler, she could give it to an older person, she'd give it to them. And she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's 8 years ago, unfortunately. And as her memory declined, every time she would speak to me, she would say, Josh is patiently waiting, Josh being the character in the first
the
book. And what
character in
she
the
meant
story.
was, when are you going to get the next one? I thought, no, Mom, I'm fine. I'm doing my work. I'm busy, da da da. But she kept saying, Josh is patiently waiting. And I thought, okay, I need to get my skates on. I need to finish this.
Mm,
But what is it I would want to do? What is it I would want to write? What's this next gift that I would want to give to the world? And I've told you a bit of my story about
mm,
just as a youngster wanting to bring out the best in people, my passion for leadership, but also not just leadership, but leading from the inside out. And so I interviewed about 60 leaders around the world. We were just talking about leadership and personal mastery. And I pulled together my ideas, some of their stories into the book. And really, the book sets out a path, a compelling path to becoming just a purposeful, courageous, and resilient leader. And that
mm,
means a leader who is really attuned to managing what's on the inside. And CORE stands for, it's an acronym, so it actually stands for clear values. So really knowing what you stand for, really knowing what you're about, and being connected with those values and that sense of purpose. And then O stands for an optimistic worldview. And that's a leader who can see the challenges and see the difficulties, but also see the opportunities and have this belief that the best is yet to come. And then
mm,
R stands for rewarding habits. So the best leaders, they have habits that help them maximize their energy, maximize their courage, that help them to both rest and renew so that they can be their best every single day. And then finally, E stands for empowering beliefs, because the belief you have about yourself, about people around you, about your leadership, that
mm,
influences the action that you take, the way
mm.
that you show up, and then ultimately the results that you get. So it doubles up as, yes, it's also about leading from your inside and
From
your
within.
core, but also it's an acronym for those four elements.
When I saw the title of the book and the core was written in capital letters. Now, I just said to
Mm.
myself, this core stands for something. And yes, this core stands for something. And somehow I've come to see people who believe in leadership from within they always describe everything in acronyms. Honestly, yes, they always describe. They come up with this funny way of putting everything in acronyms so that when you come across those acronyms, you just remember, you know, you just remember what they stand for, and it's beautiful. I had someone like that on the show recently, and she was talking about she goes by the name the iconic woman, and when I asked her, definitely she just broke down what the ICON, what it all, and all that. Beautiful. And you just said it. I was like, what is it with these leaders that, leaders with conviction, they always put it in acronyms. So you just see it's just out there. You're looking at it. And it's beautiful because the truth is I can't forget that. I can't forget that easily. That's the truth. The minute I see the word core, what will come to my mind now is, oh, Obi said something about this some time
Yeah,
ago.
yeah,
Beautiful. Now you said you've interviewed 60 leaders across
the
the
globe.
globe.
Yeah,
In
yeah.
which
So,
of the industries now? Well,
oh,
let's
it's
hear
a
more about
variety
that.
of industries.
Variety,
So
okay?
it was from aviation to
Mm,
tech to logistics to the government sector, voluntary sector. So it was
mm,
leaders from across the board and various levels. Because I wanted to make it really clear that the leadership principles we're talking about, they apply wherever you are.
they're
Right?
universal.
They are universal. At its heart, for me, leadership is positive influence. You know, John Maxwell talks about leadership as influence. I
Yeah.
like to include the element positive influence because
Mm,
Hitler was a leader, right? But the way that he
mhm,
led, that wasn't positive influence. So you can
mhm.
have some leaders who are not leading in a positive way, and I think that's unhealthy. I think that's toxic for communities, for organizations. So I like to think of leadership as positive influence.
Influence.
And so, you know, absolutely, you've got to have the right kind of mindset in order to be able to lead in a positive way.
Oh, beautiful. Now, speaking to this leaders across, from
Mhm.
your experience, were they open to accepting better ways of doing stuff? Okay, the way I've been going about this is not the best, so I need to change my leadership style, just like you said, to the positive aspect. The reception. What was it like?
So, I mean, I knew a lot of them. So I most of them were already living this way, right? They were already great examples of this kind of leadership. I'd
Okay.
say I knew about 80% of them. So,
All right. All
because for
right.
me, that was really important. I wasn't going to include examples of people who weren't already living in line with this. Now, having said that, and this is true of any self-aware leader, they'll always say, I've got room to improve, I've got room
Mm,
to develop, I've got areas that I need to grow in. So, and every single one of them would acknowledge that. And I heard stories, some very sobering stories, and I share them in the book of what happens when you don't lead this way, what happens when you don't lead from the inside out. So one really sobering story was of a leader who committed suicide because a
mm,
massive project that he was on, it went pear-shaped, and then when they dug deeper, he was having some problems at home and with his family, and he wasn't at home anymore. And that's what happens. That's a very sobering and extreme example of what happens when you're so focused on the externals that you're not really paying attention to what's going on
mm,
for you
yeah.
personally. And then other examples that were shared about uh, financial mismanagement, organizations losing loads of money because leaders weren't walking their values. So there were lots of
Mm,
examples that they shared. Some good examples of yeah, this is what it looks like when you are absolutely looking after yourself and therefore looking after your people. So there were a mix of examples in there. But overall, most of the leaders that I spoke to were very much in tune and connected with this idea of the importance of leading self.
Beautiful. Now, I'm going to throw this question at you because you are in this space. I came across a write up that the GE CEO, Jack Welch, you know, when he was still alive, the advent of the internet. So he was trying to get his managers to appreciate and embrace the internet, how knowing that it will change the way things, the business environment, and all that. So what he did was to get the younger generation then who are like they understand the internet and the savviness of the internet and all that, and brought them, you know, more or less to have what I think that was where the word reverse mentoring, came from, or was made known as in. So now we are living in that, what I say, just like you said, VUCA has always been there, just that the VUCA of 100 years ago may not have been with the Apple and what have you, the
Yeah.
technology, but the technology of that time. So we're having such a situation again where you have the millennials, as we call
Mhm.
them, the group, and the alpha generation. Now I heard a new word for that, alpha generation. And so, how, from your point of view in the development space, how do we bring, there's a generational fight somewhere. There's a generational fight. How do we bring these two generations to see themselves and appreciate that? See, we need each other within this container to move, I mean, to take the development to the next step. What do you think from from where you stand?
So I can't help but think about it as a father, right? And I think
Hmm.
of the circle of life.
Yeah.
My family isn't just about me and my wife, it's also about our kids. And I love the fact that my wife and I, we've got, just over 4 decades of experience and perspective, but we love the fact that our kids bring energy and insight into new technology. And the beauty of
Mm,
our setup as a family is that actually together we get so much more than either one of us would alone. And
mm,
so for me, I never really see it as either or. It's not, oh, hey, either we have, the older generation or the younger generation. Absolutely, we always need the combination of the two. We need those new ideas. No organization can innovate without new ideas. And a lot of those
mm,
new ideas come from younger people who come in and they see it, here's what the previous generation have built, and it's taking it to the next step. I've got a
mm,
huge amount of pride when I look at my boys and we're playing table tennis and they're better than me, right? It's
mhm,
that but I feel like they're standing on my shoulders in a way, right? And I'm
yeah.
moving them to the next level. So I think if the older generation had an appreciation for the younger generation, what they're bringing, and say, hey, yeah, absolutely, come and help us
Mm,
take what we have done to the next level. And then the younger generation are looking at the older generation with an appreciation and respect, say, hey, thank you for what you've done. And we want to come and contribute and take it to the next level because we all want progress.
mm,
And so rather than seeing it as, you versus me or either or us against them,
mm,
I say, hey, let's work together. There's an
yeah.
African proverb that says, if you want to go far, or if you want to go fast, go
Mm.
alone.
Go
If
alone.
you want to go far, go together. And we all want to go far. So let's go together with the wiser, older generation, the younger, energetic generation with their new ideas. Hey, let's work together, respect everything that everybody brings. And we end up making some incredible magic.
Beautiful. Guys, we've been talking with Obi Abuchi, and we've been looking at that thing that makes him wake up every morning and smile and just leave up, leading from his core, and you will agree with me. He's so excited. He's so excited talking about it, and amazing. His insight, his focus, you would agree with me, it is unparalleled. So now, what are you up to? The year is gone. We have like maybe 4 months to go, and we're stepping into 2023.
Mm.
What are you up to?
Well, so at the beginning of this year, I launched a personal mastery academy. And the Personal Mastery Academy is an
Beautiful.
opportunity for leaders across the world to take advantage of online coaching and training and development solutions, and also connect with other leaders who want to become more purpose driven leaders. So, our goal is to continue to grow that. As a business, we're growing. Just had someone new join the team
Mm,
today. We've got a vision that by 2030 we would have impacted 100,000 leaders around the globe, helping them become more purpose-driven leaders who not only have a positive impact on their organizations, but also on our
mhm.
world and on their families and their
Yeah.
communities. So that's our vision, really, to grow that, to inspire it. I am also looking at some partnerships. I've been exploring some partnerships to
Mm.
uh, work with some organizations across the African continent as well, just to inspire the next generation of leaders that are coming up. So those are some small, big things that are on my mind that we're working on
Beautiful.
at the moment.
I like that, small, big things. Now, I'm going to ask you this question about home. Home here is Nigeria. I know where you are. You hear, you follow the news somehow. You see what is happening. What do you think from your position and where you stand? What do you think we need now more than ever as a nation?
You said this in your intro, and I couldn't agree anymore. Everything rises and falls on leadership.
Yeah.
Now, I want to qualify. I don't think that means leaders are more important. I think we all have an incredible role to play.
Yeah.
But leaders set a vision. Leaders relate to people in a way that inspires them to bring the best of themselves. And for a long
Yeah.
time in Nigeria, we've had leaders who are far more interested in their own empires and their own ego than
Hmm.
really serving their people. If you want to be a leader who people will remember in a positive way, then you want to be about the people. Now, I don't usually get into politics, but I have seen
Hmm.
in this that the 2023 elections, I think, are going to be incredible. I think there is a hunger amongst the really aware Nigerians for a new type of leadership, a leadership that isn't
Mm,
selfish, a leadership that is about making our nation. You look at Nigerians, right? We are in every
mm,
single sphere, right? Whether that's as doctors, as engineers, in accounts, in finance, we're making a huge difference. We've got incredible talent, incredible potential, and
true.
it would be so great to have a leader who is really focused on harnessing that and helping us as a nation have a really positive reputation around the
Mm,
world for the good that we do rather than for some of the negative behaviors that have been really predominant amongst our political leaders. So I think what we need is really meaningful, purposeful, servant focused leadership.
beautiful. Beautiful. You know, so many times when we talk about leadership in the sphere of leadership development and all that, I know a good number of us would like, I don't want to, I don't want to put myself into politics and all that, but I've come to realize you can't run away from it. We all cannot run away
Absolutely.
from it.
Yeah.
Somehow,
Yeah.
political leadership sets the tone and it defines a lot of things about us. So the if we don't embrace it, somehow, just like you said, the negative influence not the
Yeah,
positive influence, now takes over and drives the negative conversation and what have you. Thank you so
absolutely.
much. Beautiful, beautiful. Now, before I let you go, I know you have a couple of things to attend to and all that. Where do we catch Obi if we want to catch him? Where do we catch him? Where do we get in touch with him and all?
Sure, there are different ways. I am on LinkedIn, so you can connect with me on LinkedIn, on my website, www.coreleaders.co.uk. You
Okay.
can reach out to me on Twitter, on Instagram, on
Mm,
Facebook, all of those different
beautiful.
avenues.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And I know you have a podcast also.
I do, yes. You can also find my podcast, Leading from Your Core. That's on
Yeah.
Amazon, on YouTube, on
Mhm.
iTunes, on Spotify. You can listen to me there as well.
Beautiful. 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 Amazing. Thank you, Obi, for taking this time to do this with us and all. One last question before I let you go. How do you combine family life and what you do? How do you combine them? Because I see you look busy to me from where I stand.
Yeah, that's a good question. So one of the things that I say is what gets scheduled gets done. And
Mm,
I I have and it works for me about 90% of the time, right? And I'm very intentional. I've got I've divided the important areas of my life into 7 categories, and I review those on a regular basis, including family and work and spiritual life and impact I'm having in the community, finances, and all of those. And just reviewing those regularly and just making sure that I'm investing in all of those so that I don't want to excel in one area of my life and to the
mm,
detriment of others. And for me personally, my greatest legacy is going to be my wife and my kids, right? Them being
beautiful.
confident, them thriving, them being at their best. So reviewing it on a regular basis and just taking the time to really make sure that I'm not dropping the ball in those areas is one of the ways that I manage that. So I'm quite intentional about it.
Beautiful. Guys, you heard that point. What gets scheduled gets done. So you don't just throw your time away like that. Sit down and schedule it, because the minute it gets scheduled, it will be done. You heard it from Obi. Yes, amazing. Thank you so much. Time is always like this when we get to that part when we begin to enjoy the show and the conversations. But well, like Obi said, this is a schedule. It's almost done. So we need to get to another subject now. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you for
Thanks,
taking
Max.
this time. Yes. So, guys, we need to run now, but you know how we say it each time we come into this space. We lean on one another's experience to forge a positive path. You will agree with me. It's been an amazing time with Obi Abuchi. I know when we call on him next time, he will show and we will have an amazing time. But till we come your way again, bye for now.
Bye for now. Thanks again, Max.
Thank you.